Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Zen from Zen Multiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So, we are back with another episode of Comic Book Vibes, and this question comes from Conrad underscore sweatpants. And his question uh, is, what are my thoughts on House and Powers of X, right? So, if you could, as you can see in the background and the picture on the right hand side, it is of House and Powers of X. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, uh, about 2 years ago, I think in 2019, summer of 2019, either summer 2019 or 18. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Jonathan Hickman was put in charge of writing the X-Men or bringing them back to the limelight. Now, he has done so through the process of two books, House of X and Powers of 10. Now, my personal just viewpoint is that I was generally hyped, right? Because for me, the X-Men have been pushed to the side, and this was during the time or the endings of Inhumans versus X-Men, right? This is when the MCU was just trying to figure out where they going to use the Inhumans, right? And they actually made a kind of a show of sorts, or it was supposed to be a movie, but they turned it into a show, and it bombed, right? It bombed. This was also the turning point in which, uh, in terms of legal matters, that the X-Men were being sought out by Disney again, right? For the rights to have those characters, and successfully they did, right? And the reason why I mention all of these is because they all go hand in hand in some type of way, right? As you can see, a lot of comic books are now, a lot of movies are now impacting the comic books, right? And vice versa. And I'm happy to say Jonathan Hickman has done a phenomenal job, right? In terms of his writing. Now, the premise of Powers of 10 and House of X goes like this, right? Gonna get into a little bit of story. So spoilers if you haven't read it, but it's gonna be really interesting in the case of just getting really exploratory. Now, I'm just gonna start off with the character that's really just like blasting my head, and that is Moira McTaggart, right? For those of you who watch the old school uh X-Men TV show on Fox 5, right? Uh and for those of you who have read comic books, we've always known Moira McTaggart to be a love interest of Professor X, right? Professor Charles Xavier. And he's also been he she's also been known to be a mutant geneticist, right? Someone who understands how mutants go about developing their powers and upon their age, and how that produces this myriad of different mutations. She's the one who understands it, right? But something very important is that we've always known her to not be a mutant as well. Okay, she was a human who just had interest and just had pride in just mutant development and evolution, right? In Powers of 10, now let me look it up here, right? I just want to make sure that you all know the gravity of Moira McTaggart, right? In general, is that Moira McTaggart, her first appearance, right? I'm just looking it up right here. Her first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men number 96 of December of 1975. Okay. Again, Uncanny X-Men number 96, right? I'm looking for this book because I want it. Of 1975. Okay. Now, here's the comparison. House of X debuted, the debut date, I'm looking it up as we're talking, is July 24th of 2019. Why does that matter? Okay. Because prior to the 2019 release of House of X and Powers of 10, okay, we've always known Moira McTaggart to be human. Upon the release of these two books, we've come to the understand that Moira McTaggart is not human, right? She is, well, she's human, but she's indeed a mutant, right? A mutant. She's been a mutant this whole entire time. And there are little tidbits in past stories that make sense now. Now, it's not to say that Jonathan Hickman always knew he was going to do this, right? But Jonathan Hickman made her into a mutant for the process of story progression. Now, here's how it goes. All right. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because the question is, what are my thoughts on it? And I loved it. Now, Moira McTaggart has a ability. You might say, what's her ability, right? What makes her so special? It is the guiding force of Powers of 10 and House of X and everything that comes after that. Currently, I it is it is August 9th, 2021, and she's still the guiding force, right, in the background because it's based on her life. Moira McTaggart's power is reincarnation. Now, when you think about reincarnation, you're also thinking about, well, the ability to, I guess, be born again in a new body. It's like that, but very different and very vast. Her power of reincarnation means when her powers, well, her mutant ability emerges right upon puberty, like many other mutants. Not all mutants, but many mutants, right? Um, when she dies, if she dies of natural causes, or even if she dies of unnatural causes, as long as her powers manifest, she will bring all of her knowledge that she's had since that time period of her birth to the point of her death. She will then reset back into her, I guess, her baby form, right? For lack of better words, um, her fetus state. And she then will live out her life, right? Moving forward with the knowledge that she had in her previous life. That's not it though. Um, a lot of us weren't too sure if she's just basically just going back, right? It is that, but it's a lot more because upon her death, right? She is bringing every ounce of reality and um, every ounce of reality and the whole entire universe with her as well. Do they have knowledge of they have knowledge of their past reset of their reset? No, they don't have. Only Moira McTaggart, she has the understanding of everything that she's lived up to the point of her death and brings it back to her reincarnated state, which is not a brand new body, it is just her fetus state. It's almost as if, for example, let's just say that she was born in, I'm just giving you all example. She was born in let's just say she was born in year 0, right? And she's lived all the way to year 5, right? Her powers emerge in year 3. She's lived all the way up to something happens to her. Sentinels came and they killed her. She resets to year 0 with all the memories of year 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, right? and and 0 actually, and she brings it back with her. But everyone who is a part of year 5 resets with her. They don't have knowledge of that reset though. That is baffling. It is baffling, and the reason why it's baffling is because she's literally resetting a whole entire reality with her, right? She's reincarnating herself, but she's bringing everything back. She's resetting everything, right? She's resetting her Super Nintendo. She's resetting her PlayStation, right? From a brand new save point, right? I like to call it the save point, right? Her save point was 0. She was at level 5. She didn't make it any farther. She reset. She might make it to year 6 and 7, and this is why her story is so important, right? Because the reason why she's made it to a certain year point, right, where the machines basically take over, right, in tandem with humans, and she's seen it where mutants never basically win, and each of her lifelines, her lifelines, right, the lives of Moira they call it, and she's made it to the point where she's learned so much that she's reset, she's learned, she's gone about different things, but she's also come to the point in her frustration where she's like, I'm breaking all the rules. The rules are still very unclear, right? And but the rules that she basically did was she allowed someone else to know the memories as well. Who did she let the memories um, be privy to? Professor Charles Xavier. She said, "Read my mind." I think it's in House of X. She basically said like, "Read my mind." He grasped every ounce of knowledge from all of her past timelines. And some of her past lives uh involve like her living to the point where she's teamed up with Apocalypse, her even living to the point when she's killed Professor X and Magneto, right? Her getting to the point where she's like stopped the production of Sentinels in hopes of preventing Nimrod from being born. Nimrod is an evolution, one of the final stages of an evolution of a Sentinel, right? And she's done so, and she's broken the rules by allowing Professor X to know all the memories, right? Which then led to the progress of Professor X seeking the aid of um, folks that he normally wouldn't team up with, and that is Magneto. He also, Professor X lets Magneto know everything that he's learned as well. Okay, this puts everyone in a whole dynamic stage of planning where they are trying to prevent mutants from being eliminated, the machines from eventually giving birth to Nimrod and then taking over, right? Which is seen in one of her timelines. And I think this is, I forgot what timeline it is, but it's the one where basically Apocalypse is going against Nimrod. And uh, this is like years in the future, right? When many of the mutants have that we've known and loved died, but they've also gotten to the process of Mr. Sinister in cohesion with Apocalypse and Moira have created Chimera mutants. Chimera mutants meaning that this is in Powers of 10. Chimera mutants means that they have the DNA of multiple mutants, right? Which then leads into them having multiple abilities, right? That timeline, that lifeline, sorry, was basically reset upon Moira's death, and then we get into our timeline right now. We're in currently in the 10th timeline of Moira McTaggart. Everything from Powers of 10, House of X, X of Swords, right? The new X-Men that is currently out within this time, right? Again, 2021, August 9th, is all part of Moira's 10th life. Do What are my thoughts on Powers of X and House of 10? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It put not only my love of the X-Men to the forefront and mutants, right? But also added scientific aspects to it as well that made me just say, wow, Jonathan Hickman, thank you for bringing the X-Men back, right? Because for a long time we had stories of the X-Men, but they weren't stories that I would say really grabbed my interest, right? I was reading more like DC comic books, and I was also reading some of the Avengers books, but nothing was really grasping my interest when it comes to the X-Men because they were always warring with like either they were, just warring with the Avengers, or they were going against the Inhumans. It was like they were trying to find something interesting to do with them, right? But they finally found something very interesting, right? And from the Powers of 10 and House of X, we also led to the birth of Krakoa. Krakoa is the nation island of all the mutants. Now, Krakoa was actually, it's not actually, it is a mutant island, right? That is sentient as well, right? It actually premiered, and I'm gonna just put it up here, right? So that I'm not misquoting numbers. Is Krakoa first appearance, right? Was in uh, Giant Size X-Men #1, right? Uh, in 1975, right? So it's basically a mutant, very powerful, but it's an island, right? But what happened was Professor X had an idea, right, to bring all mutants, right, to Krakoa as a safe haven, right, to create the nation of Krakoa. So you might say, well, how is he able to do that will the island permit him because the island is sentient? He utilized a couple of things, right? All of his alliances with other people, but he really didn't have the ability to speak with Krakoa, because you could speak with something telepathically, but if you don't truly understand what you're speaking to, then how can you truly communicate? All right. So there's a mutant, Cipher, and I did a episode on powers discussed for him. Um, Cipher has the ability of omnilingualism, right? Which gives him the ability to understand and decipher all forms of languages, right? Essentially, he was able to communicate with Krakoa, right? And with Krakoa, he basically said, like, we want to live here, and we could also offer you, we could have this symbiotic relationship, right? Where we're doing one thing, but you allow us to do one thing. Krakoa agreed. He agreed, right? Um, and thus the mutants not did a couple of things from that, right? They were able to develop a botanical based science, right? uh, Flowers of sorts, right? That allowed them to create gateways, right? Place gateways at multiple parts of wherever they wanted to go. Basically saying, well, if Krakoa is here and a, a botanical gateway of Krakoa is here, then they could go from one area to the next area instantaneously, right? Now think about that. If they're able to place multiple, right, Krakoan gateways in multiple places, then the mutants can go essentially anywhere, right? Literally anywhere. But they also wanted to provide um, humans with the alliance of knowing that we're not only doing this for ourselves, but we're going to provide all humans on the planet, right? As long as you see us as our own nation, we're going to provide you all with medicine, right? Cocoa medicine, able to take away diseases and promote longevity and degeneration, right? Of sorts, anything, right? That we could think of, right? They're able to basically save it. Um, and I could go into the story a lot more, but my thoughts are, because I'm going 17 minutes onto this, but as you can hear in my words, right? My vocabulary and also my hype, that I'm fully invested in House of X and Powers of 10, right? So much that I've literally almost read every single comic book after that, after House of X and Powers of 10 have completed its run. And the reason why is because even though it's completed, a lot of unanswered questions were left on purpose, of course, right? So because elements were left unanswered, because you get the answers piece by piece by piece by many of the other books that came after that, right? X-Force, the X-Men, Hellions, and other books of that nature. Now we're in the Reign of X, right? We've finished with Powers of um, Sword, sword exoswords, pardon me, exoswords, and we've learned so much about the history of Apocalypse and things of that nature. But the way Jonathan Hickman writes, right? Those of you who read Jonathan Hickman work, he could write things about 2 years prior to a plot point and have leading seeds all the way until it blossoms later on, right? And we're finally going to get some answers in Inferno this coming, I think, in the coming year, September, if I'm not mistaken, right? But my point is, right, of this little podcast that I'm doing, because I've been speaking quite a bit about this, that to answer Conrad's question, is that it is a phenomenal series that I feel fully invested in. For me, Jonathan Hickman brought back the X-Men. Um, to why I love it so much, but why I love it even more, right? Infusing a little bit of science fiction. It's always been science fiction, but infusing more science fiction and deep seated plot development and character development was enough for me to even essentially get back into comic books, right? So, with that being said, everyone, uh, let me know what you think about Powers of 10 and House of X. And if you haven't read it yet, let me know what you think about this review overall. I know I did a lot of spoilers, but I always do spoilers in most of my videos anyway. So a lot of you who watch my videos, you should know. If you didn't watch the video, if you watch this video and you got spoiled and you're like, oh man, I hate you, Zen, it's okay, because There's so much I didn't say, right? Within the span of the 17 minutes and ongoing, that you can jump into it and be like, damn, this story is amazing. But with that being said, everyone, this is Zen from Zen Multiverse, saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you're enjoying the content, drop me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later on the next video. Um, and we have more questions coming out, so you can leave me questions in the comment section too. Later, everyone.